The warm-up is a really, really important part of any productive ride or competition that you do with your dressage horse. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about the steps that I go through with my young horse, warming him up. This is a little clip of me warming up Harvey at the national championships, and you can see I really take my time to get that physical and mental relaxation before we go in the show ring. So be sure to give me a thumbs up and comment below if you enjoy this video. Also sign up for Amelia's Dressage Club on Facebook. And for those of you who are part of Amelia's Dressage Academy, we will be focusing the month of October on suppleness. So this is a great video to start getting you guys thinking about suppleness. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk you guys through my warm-up today on Kensington. And for those of you that don't know, Kensington is 5 this year. The warm-up is a really, really important part of your ride because it sets the stage to having a productive ride. The amount of time it takes to warm up your horse varies because mainly in the warm-up you want to get your horse where they are physically and mentally in a state of relaxation, and suppleness is the most important thing. So I always do a lot of walking with my horses at the beginning. I've already been walking Kensington for about 5 minutes. Keep walking, buddy. And you can do the walking, like usually when I start, I'll do the walking just on a long rein. It a little bit depends on the horse with him. Sometimes I like to pick up the rein a little bit and help him stretch his neck down because he's a young horse, and one, for safety, and two, that he's not just staring around. If you have a horse that just stares off in the distance and kind of maybe gets themselves worked up because they're looking around, then what I like to do is take just a little bit of a light contact and work on getting your horse to where they're really stretching over the back. So when I got Kensington, he came from Europe, and they did a good job starting him, but they never really taught him to stretch down to the contact. They always rode him like, I would say it's a little bit auction style, whereas there was a lot of contact and his head was just up the highest point and he was going very forward, but he never learned to stretch over the back and to lower his neck. So in the warm-up, I like to really work on just getting him stretching down. And then I also like to work some little serpentines. So just maybe a 3-loop serpentine where I just start working on bending him and connecting him from my inside leg and to my outside rein. And again, this serpentine line really helps also to keep him focused and to start getting him in a frame of mind where he's with me. So when I'm riding my horse, he can glance off, but I don't want him to just stare off into the distance. I want his ears to be soft where he'll kind of look forward, but then if I use my inside leg, he'll look back at me. So when I start him off in the trot, I start him a little bit low, just like I had him at the walk. And again, keeping him a little low like this does a couple of things. One is it really tests his relaxation. And you'll probably see sometimes he'll want to just stick his head up and look around, or if something catches his eye, but he's actually doing pretty good here. The biggest thing that I'm working on in the warm-up is physical and mental relaxation. So I just want to get him in a state of mind where he is relaxed and also supple. So I'm using circles to test the suppleness. So here on the circle, I'm bending him a little down to the left. I'm moving him off my left leg and into the right rein. When I go on a circle to the right, now I'm pushing him off my right leg and into my left rein. Come on, good boy. And there I gave him a little extra kick with my right leg because he was leaning into my right leg. So that's a big part of the warm-up. When you think about getting your horse supple, horses are often more supple on one side than the other. Most horses like to bend to the left. They're kind of like a banana to the left, and they're stiff to the right. So when I'm going to the right in this direction, I'm really thinking about being able to get him off my right leg and connect him into that left rein. And again, you see I still very much have him in a low frame where he's really over the back, and this is not a show frame, but for the warm-up, especially given his age and given how he was ridden in Europe, I really just want to take the time to get his muscles long. It's important that, you know, same as for athletes, you stretch the muscles before you compress them. So before I start working on more collected work, I really want to make sure that I elongate his top line muscles and that he's not just stuck in a frame, but that I can bend him a little more to the left, I can bend him a little to the right, that he's really loose and supple. And getting this physical suppleness creates mental suppleness and relaxation. The two are connected. If your horse is tense mentally, they're going to be tense physically. If your horse is supple mentally, they're going to be more likely to be supple physically, although not always. So when I get ready for the canter, I bring him a little bit more up. And the reason for that is that if I ride him too low in the canter at the beginning, he goes too much on the forehand. Boy. So he's still not quite all the way up where I would have him in a show, but he's certainly more up than he was in the trot. And now I'm just trying to help him get his rhythm and his balance in the canter. He has a big canter and he's young and he doesn't always manage himself very well in the canter. So he requires a lot of balance and managing on my end. Boy. There. Boy. And then once I've cantered to the left, I'm going to canter to the right. I usually in the warm-up, I recommend cantering the easy way first, just because, you know, it's the warm-up and you want to make it easy for you and your horse, in my opinion. Maybe you have a different opinion. But so I usually pick up the canter first on the easy lead and then on the hard lead. And again, I'm just kind of think about in this part of the ride getting the blood flowing, or I'm just feeling a clear canter rhythm. I'm getting him in front of my leg, trying to get him a little softer where he's not balancing so much on my hands. Boy. So then once I kind of feel like I have a good canter going, I start with my transitions. Trot, canter, trot transitions. Done a ton of videos on them. They are one of the best exercises to warm up your horse. I really want to make sure when I'm doing these exercises that the quality of the gait stays good, so that I have a really nice working canter. You always warm up in working gaits, no matter what level your horse is. A nice working canter, it needs to push a little more behind. And a forward transition to my working trot. Come on, boy. And back up to working canter. And back to working trot. That time he dropped a little low in front. Boy. But this is the part of the warm-up where you start your gear shifting, and you really want to make sure that you can do nice seamless trot-canter-trot transitions on both leads before you go on to any kind of collected work. Now I'm powering up my canter a little more. You can see how as I'm going here, things are getting a little more smooth. Like, I feel like my engine's staying revved a little better. I feel like the connection's getting a little softer. Sometimes he still kind of looks to me to balance him in front. And boy, there's a fine line between giving your horse balance, but you also don't want them to just lean on the bridle. Like, you want to be able to give. And I'm also, as the warm-up goes, working for a little more gait, a little more trot. Boy, that transition was not good because he got long and he was too slow behind. There. Boy, that was better. Let's see if I can do one more trot canter where he stays a bit more together. Good boy, that was better. With him, sometimes I have to help him get a little shorter and quicker stride because his canter almost gets, oh, it's okay. His canter almost gets too slow and big. Boy, you saw there, he just got a little spooked by the truck going by. Boy, just simply make a circle. Good. Good. So now I feel like, okay, kind of accomplished what I want to check out. So I always go back at the end of my warm-up with him to that full stretch, because it's so important with all horses that you can stretch them and that you always use that as a measure of how productive your warm-up is. So some horses, I don't necessarily start as low as Kensington. Like if you have a horse that's built a little more downhill or their neck isn't set on so high, you don't necessarily start them as low. But by the end of the warm-up, you really should be able to stretch your horse deep and over the back and test that mental and physical suppleness. Boy. So then after I feel like the warm-up is over, I give my horse a break just on a loose rein, let them catch their breath, and then I start the working phase of my ride. So comment below, let me know what exercises you do in your warm-up. And I hope this helps you to think about your warm-up. Every horse is a little different, so just find what works for your horse. Stick to kind of the same routine for the warm-up, and makes a big difference in how productive your ride is.